A warm welcome to the students. Greetings of the day. Let us move towards another lecture in the series. We are studying Unit 2 and we are about to start the next part, that is ratio analysis today. In the last video lecture, we finished financial analysis, so we are moving towards the next important part of Unit 2, ratio analysis. From this part, you can have a question which is theoretical base, theory base, or maybe a numerical based question can appear in a question in exam. Some students might have studied this topic in their class 11 and 12, so it would give a quick revision to them. This is a quite possible thing that have been seen in the previous past years, that you people have got a full-fledged question, maybe of 15 marks from this numerical question, which may have theoretical portions which would ask the significance of the particular ratios for 5 marks or so. So you need to make yourself nicely aware with the concepts theoretically as well as practically. Before beginning any types of ratios, I would like you to understand the term ratios first of all, that what ratios are. You have seen this in mathematics since your middle school. See, ratios are the relationships which can be expressed in mathematical terms between figures which are connected with each other in some manner. See, this last part of this sentence, that the figures, the numbers uh, which are connected with each other. See, you can have a relationship between the mileage of a vehicle and the petrol used. But is it possible that is there a relationship between the wear and tear of tires and the petrol used? On the contrary, there can be a relationship between the wear and tear of tires and the mileage or the way the vehicle is being running, or the type of terrain in which it is running. But fuel and tires may not be much related. Or if we start comparing the fuel used by the particular vehicle with the food consumed by the owner or the driver of that vehicle, is it relevant? No, there is no connection between the two things. So we find ratios to establish relationships, mathematical relationships, I would suggest better, between the figures which are connected to each other, so that we can have certain interpretations out of them, so that we can reach certain conclusion after comparing those figures and ratios. Before beginning further, because in this slide I'm talking ratios mathematically only, I must make you revise that you people used to express ratios in two ways since your middle school. Times and percentages means one value is divided by other. The unit used to express the quotient is termed as times. If I am saying that there are two numbers, suppose 100 divided by 50. So in that case, the quotient is 2. So one value is twice of the other. It's 2 times, right? Same ways, if the quotient so obtained is multiplied by 100, the unit of expression is termed as percentage. Okay. Now let us see the financial ratios, the way we establish the relationships in accountancy. In accounting, how these ratios are being useful. So a financial ratio shows the mathematical relationship between two figures which have meaningful relationship with each other. Like we can have a relationship between gross profit and sales. There is a relationship between net profit and sales as well. Current assets can be linked to current liabilities. So no useful purpose is served if the ratios are calculated between the two figures which are not related. Let us take some example from accounts also, like the ratio of purchases. Purchases, what are purchases? Purchases is the purchase of your stock, raw material, right? Its link with the premium on issue of shares. Like one is the component of your production, other is your capital, basically issue of shares on premium. So if there is there a relationship between the premium and the purchases? Can be somewhere related to the sales or the goodwill or to the profit, etc. things, but it is not related with purchases anyhow. So it has no meaning. So in accountancy also, we keep the things together which do have meaning while we compare them. Or in other words, we can say that in financial analysis, a ratio is used as an index, or it is used as a yardstick, or you can say it is used as a measuring tool, or can be used to evaluate the financial performance of a firm, of an organization, that how fit a firm financially is, what is its performance in a particular year or a particular month or a particular week. Okay, now let us see the nature of the ratio analysis, like how it moves, how it goes further. In this part, we have the nature of ratio analysis, like it is the technique basically of analysis and interpreting the results that are obtained after the comparison from the various terms or numbers picked from the financial statements. It is a process of establishing and interpreting various ratios for helping in making certain decisions. Like in the previous slide, we have seen that there is a relationship. If we study the relationship between gross profit and sales, then the decisions can be taken whether to increase the sale price, whether to reduce the sale price, or whether to increase the sales or reduce the sales, and what effect is there on the profit level of the organization. However, the ratio analysis is not an end in itself, because in ratios we only just compare two numbers. So it is only a means of better understanding of the financial strengths or maybe the weaknesses of an organization. So calculation of mere ratios does not serve any purpose. This is a basic nature of ratio analysis, unless and until there are several appropriate ratios which are being analyzed and interpreted. Without the interpretation, it is of no use. There are a number of ratios which can be calculated from information which is given in the financial statements, but whosoever is analyzing them, the analyst, has to select the appropriate data which can be compared, and calculations can be performed only a few appropriate ratios from the same, keeping in mind the objective of the analysis, for what purpose the analysis is being performed. The ratios may be used as a symptom, like if we say in general life, blood pressure, pulse rate, or body temperature, and their interpretation depends upon the caliber and competence of the analyst. Why I have used this? Because a body temperature itself is not a disease, but it can be a cause due to certain other disease. So with that viewpoint, ratios are also calculated that ways to interpret certain results. And this can be done using 4 steps. Under this, we have first step as selection of relevant data, relevant in the sense which do have any connection at least from the financial statements depending upon the objective of the analysis. Second, calculation of appropriate ratios from the data. Using formulas, the appropriate calculations are being performed. Third, interfirm comparisons can be there, comparison of the calculated ratios with the ratios of the same firm in the past, or with the ratios which are developed from the projected financial statements, or the ratios of some other firms, or the comparison with the ratios of the industry to which that firm belongs. Means this comparison can be inter-firm or intra-firm. It can be interdepartmental or intra-departmental. Depends that what analyst wants to check, what is his requirement, what he is keen to check out. And finally, at the last step, he interprets the results that he has obtained using the ratios. The next and the last important part of this lecture, that is interpretation of ratios. See, I just mentioned in the previous slides that mere calculation of ratios is not the basic objective, and it does not solve the purpose unless and until you are interpreting the result from it, unless and until you are performing the comparisons and you are making the results out. And to have those results, to have those interpretations, some pre-objectives needs to be defined. That is quite clear till now. Let us see how interpretations can be made. See, ratios may be interpreted in 4 different ways. There are 4 different ways in general, and maybe more than that. First, an individual ratio may have significance of its own, means a particular ratio which is being calculated may have its own particular significance. For example, suppose if we say a ratio of 25% of net profit on capital employed, what does that show? It shows a satisfactory return. What is it showing? What satisfactory result is it showing? That 25% of net profit is there. If a person is investing 100 rupees, he is able to get a 25 rupees profit from it. So this particular ratio is self-interpretive, means the ratio is having its own significance and is interpreting the result without any further interpretation. Right. Second way, that ratios may be interpreted by making comparison over time. Over time here refers to that the ratio, I just took the example that the ratio of net profit of capital employed suppose is 25, and it can be compared with the ratio, that same ratio, that how much percentage of profit was earned on capital employed in the previous years. So such comparison will indicate the trend of the rise or decline or stability of the profit. Whether, like suppose if we can compare the ratio of net profit on capital employed of the last 5 years. Suppose the first year shows 10%, then second year shows 30%, then third year shows 15%, then next year shows 25%, then fifth also shows 25%. Here you can notice that after the first year there was a tremendous increase from 10 to 30%. So in that situation, the organization can put certain things to analysis, that what were the reasons that there was more turnout. Was the demand more due to certain reasons, or were our marketing strategies were strong? Did we had any particular advertisement in that particular year? What was the basic reason? Why did people were more interested in our product in that particular year? Were we having any schemes or so in that particular year? Something like that. And then we noticed that in the third year, it again declined to 15%. So what wrong measures were taken by the organization which led to a lower turnout? And then it became stable at 25%. This means that the previous year's ratios can be compared to see and take the decisions in the upcoming years. The same ratio can be compared over the time. Then third, ratios of any one firm may be compared with ratios of other firms in the same industry, means inter-firm comparison basically. Here we can take example like efficiency of a firm can be compared to the efficiency of other firms. Like suppose we can see some cosmetic industry. The company A Limited is having 20% return on capital employed, whereas B Limited company is having only 12% return on capital employed. That shows that there are certain measures which are making A Limited more profitable. In that case, it actually gives a chance to B Limited to study the patterns followed by A Limited and improve its measures. Whereas A Limited can keep a check that they are not going down with the percentage of 20 that they have, and further can make decisions to improve it further. As compared to the firms in that same industry, their performance is appearing to be better. The last way that I have suggested here for the interpretation is that ratios may be interpreted by considering a group of several related ratios. Here we can take certain particular ratios related to a particular field, like we can see the utility of current ratio. What does current ratio shows? You know, it is a relationship between the current assets and liabilities. It shows that are we able to meet the current liabilities with the current assets? Are we in a situation that we can meet all our current liabilities using the current assets? So this ratio is enhanced if it is used with other related ratios sometimes, like acid test ratio, that is liquidity ratio, which tests the liquid assets instead of current assets, and it can be even linked with the stock turnover ratio. Similarly, various profitability ratios may be considered in relation to each other. Same ways, various turnover ratios can also be linked with each other. So here was your beginning of the second part of Unit 2, ratio analysis, which is important from examination viewpoint. In the next lecture, we will be starting another important topic, that is classification of ratios, which will be beginning the base of your numericals. In that, we will be classifying the ratios into different categories, and then we will be studying each and every category, that how many ratios are lying in it and are being defined along with their formulas and the significance of calculating the particular ratio. Till then, you may study well. If you have any queries, you may write to me. Take care. Thank you.